Looks like people are filtering back in. If you can share in the chat any learnings or questions. We had a really important question in our breakout room about what to do when a child doesn't want to disclose trauma because they don't want to get their family broken apart, which is a really important question. We talked about the importance of building relationships, but also that balance between being a mandated reporter and the complexities of intergenerational trauma and government agencies. Does anyone have any learnings they want to share? You can use the raise your hand feature.
Hi, Dana, we are back.
Hey, Martha, what did you guys talk about?
So we talked about ways to use the screening to start discussions with kids who may not have all the information about COVID-19, ways to identify where there might be some questioning or education that you can do with kids and families about what safety measures are in place, but also how you can use this screening tool in various ways beyond just looking at the questions and giving an answer, but helping kids to see that they're not alone in the answers that they're giving, right? That they're the things that they're afraid of, other kids are afraid of them too. Teachers are afraid of them too. And then that can be used to strategize some solutions and helping people to feel less lonely, since isolation has been such a difficult piece of this.
Does anyone else from a breakout room want to share any learnings? Okay.
Dana?
Yes.
In ours, we wanted to acknowledge that middle school age kids in particular and high school kids might be hesitant to do something like this. They've learned to cover, particularly if they've been involved in other social services, that it really should be something that's personal and set up. But also there has to be the message that something will happen, that it's not just taking a survey for survey's sake. Trying to get that across to what would happen next. What would the intervention be? How can we help? What is our intent? And even one of the things that occurred to me that I shared was that even 10 questions can be overwhelming, and the suggestion that even perhaps breaking it down and doing just a few at different times, or using the survey as an exit ticket, so that if the information's gained, but it's not, okay, here's something everybody needs to do and we'll be collecting it later.
That's a really great idea, Jill. And that's a very important point you made, thinking about what's going to happen next. We really can't, if you don't have the staff capacity to meet the needs of students who the screener shows you need that help immediately, then why are you doing it? If you only have staff capacity to meet universal needs, then we suggest doing universal programming. And we have a few blogs on the CEI website about trauma-informed screening that talk about that issue. So I encourage you to check those out. So why is it so important to think about trauma in schools? Well, we know, as we looked at earlier, trauma affects the central nervous system in so many different ways that really have an impact on executive functioning. And that leads not only to mental health and behavioral problems, but also academic outcomes. And these two things influence each other, because if a student is worried about where their next meal is going to come from, or what kind of mood grandpa's going to be in when they get home, then they might not have the mental capacity to focus on history or science. So these achievement gaps actually get wider and wider as children move from elementary to middle school, because it's a vicious cycle that just keeps going. So it's important to intervene as early as possible, and now is the time to intervene for any child.